I remember my childhood in the back streets of Richmond and the visions that leave a lasting impression, where I lived in a fish shop with my mother and father, and the chips and the grease and the smell and the batter and the stench from the garbage and the thousands of flies that would gather to feast on the shop's throwaways in the lane out the back where we kids used to play. And from our 10 by 12 playground built over the kitchen we could see all the tin rooftops of Richmond, and Palaco would flash in bright red off and on, the stars, the moon and the flashing neon, and the chimneys and smokestacks that were nearby was the sight you could see as you looked to the sky, and the trees you could see you could count on one hand, and the birds must have flown off to some other land. I remember the fish that would come by the truckload, and the cats in the lane how they'd feast on the fish bones, and the scales of the fishes how they'd fly like confetti, and my dad who'd be covered from his head to his toes, and his arms that would glisten just like the fishes he was cleaning and gutting and cutting the heads off. And the pubs that stank of beer and of piss, and the drunks that would stagger and fall out at 6, up the hill they'd swagger to get some chips, or a cray if they had a win on the races, or some prawns or oysters to take to the missus, or some bread and butter soaked in Worcestershire sauce to sober them up before their main course. And my dad who left Greece when he was 15 with his hope, his ambitions and a bag full of dreams, but spent the rest of his life as a slave to a stove, till his dreams were all greasy and his hope had all gone, and the times he got mad and punched shit out of drunks. We didn't know why, but were sure glad it wasn't us. And my mum who'd pace up and down to the kitchen taking orders and trays of roasters and boilers and flake and cooter and brim and snapper to the window to attract the eyes of the buyers, and she carried the burden of my father's bad temper when the shop wasn't doing what it shoulda, or he was worried about the price of potatoes, and her nerves were internal but her anger was showing, and her legs would swell up from all of that walking, and I often saw her in some corner crying in the fish shop in Richmond from where I came.